lot of people. Merci d'être ici ce soir. Ça c'est le premier parisien de ce film. C'est formidable. Le film sort décembre 15. C'est une comédie que j'ai fait avec ma meilleure amie du monde, PJ McCabe. Il ne peut pas être ici ce soir. Il y a un bébé, un petit bébé, il s'appelle Quinn. My goddaughter. She's very cute. Mais merci pour se voir. C'est un film très près de ma cœur et c'est drôle et crazy, fou. Et merci. Et fuck Hollywood. Bon appétit.
Avant que vous puissiez poser vos questions, je vais en poser quelques-unes à Jim. Comment ça vous est venu cette idée de tirer comme ça sur Hollywood, sur un film entier?
How did I come up with the idea to tell the story of Hollywood? I don't know. I was with friends, and there was a woman at this party. And I was saying goodbye to everybody, and I said goodbye, and she hugged me, and then kept her hand on my back for a long time. And I thought, that's an invitation. And it was really weird and uncomfortable, and I was like, oh, okay. But then it became this thing of like, well, what would it be like if she sent you a letter? And it was this anonymous encounter, this admirer that loved you. And I called my friend PJ, and I said, what would you do if you got a letter in the mail saying this? And he said, I would get murdered. Like, they would kill me immediately. Of course I'm not going to do it. And he said, would you do it? I said, no, I wouldn't do it. But that'd be crazy, right? It kind of became this Twilight Zone episode. And then we just kept writing it. And then if you're going to make a movie about liars and cheaters, you have to set it in a talent agency.
Est-ce que ce portrait que vous faites d'Hollywood, justement, qui est vraiment pas reluisant, I think he's gonna translate that, yeah. Est-ce que vous avez l'impression que c'est la réalité ou vous avez complètement exagéré les choses?
So you cast a very negative light on Hollywood, and do you feel like it's the reality, or do you feel like you exaggerated the reality?
So Robert Altman made a film about Hollywood called The Player, and when he was doing this, people would say, "Is it really that bad?" And he would say, "Oh, it's far worse." And I agree. I think we only had 90 minutes to help to tell the story of how awful and toxic it is for women in the workplace, and what assholes these guys are. But really, it's so much worse. I can't. It would take me forever to explain it to you. But everything that you know about Hollywood is true.
Alors, quel est le plaisir là-dedans, Jim, de jouer le méchant? De jouer quand même un beau salaud, quoi.
Well,
I understand.
your character is a douche.
Yeah.
So wait,
That's what she said.
what's the pleasure of playing such an evil character?
It feels a bit like Charlie Chaplin playing the great dictator. I get to make audiences laugh by how awful I am and how stupid I am. And it gives audiences permission to laugh at the powerful. And it feels really great. But I am an asshole.
Vous avez coécrit, co-réalisé, vous dites, avec PJ.
Avec PJ.
Oui, mais vous avez coécrit surtout avec lui. Est-ce que vous pouvez me dire comment ça s'est passé? Parce que vous avez un processus d'écriture et de réalisation qui est assez étonnant quand vous co-réalisez comme ça, quand vous collaborez avec quelqu'un.
The way that we write is thousands of conversations, and we'll write the entire script out loud. So it's not written like we're typing or written out. We'll have 1,000 ideas in one Google document, and then we'll share it with each other, and then we organize it in a way that could be a screenplay, and then we just come together and instead of writing it, we'll act out all of the scenes. So every scene is acted out 100 times to find what the scene should be, and then we'll be acting it out, and I'll go, oh fuck, yeah, it's great, and I'll go over and write it down. And we've written that way for 4 years, but that's not the education in screenwriting. Everybody says you have to do it a different way, but it's really working for us, and I think we're going to keep doing it.
Est-ce que sur le plateau, vous êtes deux à diriger, ou est-ce que vous le faites tout seul, et PJ, il est votre co-réalisateur parce qu'il a tellement travaillé le film en amont que vous estimez qu'il a ce crédit de réalisateur. Et sur le plateau, ça se passe comment? Est-ce que vous êtes tout seul à diriger, ou est-ce qu'il le fait avec vous?
How do we do it when we're directing? Yeah. The joke is, so I didn't go to school for acting. PJ went to school for acting, and I went to school for filmmaking. And so the joke is, PJ doesn't know anything about cameras, and I don't know anything about acting. And so together we make one good director. But really, because we write out loud, because we're writing constantly how we write, it's kind of directing. The way that we act scenes out and form the scenes, it is directing. So we'll also record the screenplay as a podcast where we'll act out every part. And so the movie already exists as a podcast before we shoot it, and then we just have to film the podcast. So really, it was kind of an accident that we were writing and directing together, but we're best friends in real life, so it felt very easy. It felt like we were co-directing. And then on set, but on set it was really easy because I'm in the movie almost every scene, and PJ was able to see the monitor and make sure that I wasn't a terrible actor all the time.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for this great movie.
Oh, cool.
It's very intelligent, very bold, courageous, especially as an American.
Wow. Thank you. No offense.
Know that you're an American, but you're talking about Hollywood as an American director.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Sure.
I do. I'd like to know, how did you cast the actors playing in the movie? Was it through talent agencies? I guess
no.
No. And
Instagram. It was
Instagram.
Totally. And also, so many of the actors are my friends. So like, Jacqueline, who plays my assistant, is the girl in Thunder Road who is making out with two guys in the car. And so I was writing the movie, and I was like, I think Jacqueline Doak could play this part. And so we changed the character to Jacqueline, and then it was like, yeah, Jacqueline's going to do it.
Yeah.
But there were so many friends. It's just people who are making movies that are next to us, and I say, hey, can you do this thing? It'll be next Tuesday, and here are your lines in the podcast. And they're like, yeah, I can do that. So it's never through Hollywood. We did not make this film in Hollywood. It was completely circumventing Hollywood. And it's great. It looks like a $4 million movie.
It is great.
Thank you. And we made it for nothing. We made it with our friends in our backyard. So like, it's in our apartments. It's in our offices. Anybody can do this. Anybody can create a studio on their own with friends. And I'm just lucky enough that I've been doing it for 10 years, that I have very talented friends at this point.
It's great. So
thanks.
your way of doing things is very exciting.
Oh, cool. It's exciting. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Let's keep talking.
Jim, quand vous faites ce podcast que vous donnez aux acteurs,
ouais.
C'est ça, hein, pour éviter trop de répétitions qui coûtent extrêmement cher.
Ouais.
Hein, on est d'accord?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's too expensive. Yeah, I heard you.
Est-ce qu'il n'y a pas quelque chose un peu, comment dire, quand vous projetez quelque chose des rôles, c'est-à-dire que vous faites tous les rôles dans ce podcast, d'un coup vous demandez à un acteur de faire quoi, de mimer ce que vous faites, ou est-ce qu'ils ont la liberté de proposer des choses et tout ça? Est-ce que finalement
No liberty.
Okay.
I think really I come from the world of animation, and so much of the world of animation is specific. It has to be. Every frame matters. Every line matters in our films. And English and language and comedy and tone are so complex that we just don't have the time to find it. And I'm an actor, PJ's an actor, so we just recorded it how we thought the scene would go so that people get the jokes. And then we give it to them, and sometimes they're offended. And I go, I'm sorry, this is the best way that I know how to do it. and then they elevate it in such a way. So it becomes this, like a screenplay. I say it's easy to misinterpret a text message. Never give an actor just a screenplay. Sorry, actors.
Thanks for a great film. Thank you very much. Really good. Talking of Thunder Road, since Thunder Road was changed, is it easier to get the money to make a film or not? Because you complained about not having enough money to make Thunder Road in an interview, I think.
Sure. So Thunder Road, thank you for the question. Thunder Road, we ran a Kickstarter campaign, a crowdfunding campaign to make the movie, and we raised $36,000. That became the pre-production funds to make the movie. And then that film was very successful here. Thank you. And that film was very successful in the United States. And so we were able to make the budget back. It was $200,000 that we made that film for. And then I made a werewolf movie. It hasn't come out in France yet. Called The Wolf of Snow Hollow.
It's great.
Oh, nice. Oh, thank you. Pirates. And then that was a $2 million movie, which is insane. It was 10 times the budget of Thunder Road. But then with this film, we went back to making small movies. So I made this movie for $250,000, which is crazy. But I had so much more creative control, and I was able to raise that money through a crowdfunding campaign called WeFunder in 12 days. So I really think that this is the future for all of you to treat your movies like startup companies and to open it up to the internet and get financing that way. I was talking to Aaron about this earlier yesterday, but it really is the future, and anybody can do it. That's how Silicon Valley makes their products, and we're doing the same thing. It's easier.
First, thank you very much for this film. Keep doing what you do, which is fantastic.
Cool.
I wanted to know what was the research process like for the talent agencies, and what did you write from experience?
Yeah. No comment. No. So some of it is my own experience. All of my friends have had nothing but problems in Hollywood. It's just bullshit and lies and cheating and all that stuff. But then when we were writing the film, we wrote it about the envelope service, the anonymous sexual encounters. And then we knew that it had to be about cheating and lying. It's like, it could be funny to do this agency stuff. And I tweeted once saying, if anybody works in the talent agency world, I'd love to meet you. And through friends and through Twitter, we were able to connect with about 11 different sources, anonymous sources, who came to talk to us on the phone, or we go out to lunch and talk about what it was like to be in the world. And so much of the way that we speak, what's going on in the offices, was built from their testimonies and emails and voicemails and leaked documents and all kinds of crazy shit. It's way worse. I mean, this is nothing from what we heard. Like fist fights in the office, cocaine, all kinds of crazy shit. So yeah, we had 11 different people give us the testimony, and the scene where I'm shouting at Jacqueline and I say, "How are you going to come in tomorrow?" That is verbatim. That's actually how an agent at one of the top 4 agencies in Hollywood spoke to an assistant. And afterwards, I called the anonymous source and said, "Hey, I think I did it. It was too close. I think I said it exactly how you told me he said it. And I'm nervous he's going to find out." And she said, "He'll never remember. He does it every day." It's awful. It's awful, awful, awful.
Have you screened the film in Hollywood, and are you... what kind of response have you gotten?
I mean, this is the premiere.
Do you have an agent?
Yeah. No. We haven't screened it yet. Nobody's seen it. So it's screened at Berlinale and Tribeca and then Deauville and now here. So nobody in Hollywood has seen the film. I don't think they're going to like it, if I can make a bet. But I think also, if you're making fun of them, it's like South Park. If you're making fun of someone, they have to say, "I love it. It's great. Really funny. I know someone just like that." And they forget that it's them. So I think the film will be celebrated in Hollywood. And And I hope we don't get into trouble.
Hello. I was wondering, as you said, the first idea for this feature was a situation that you lived a few days ago. It was important for you to talk about this part of Hollywood before this event.
So this would have been 2019 when that happened. So Ronan Farrow had already written about Weinstein, and I mean, really, the entire conversation that was filmmaking was about Me Too. And being in Hollywood, it was a complete change of the landscape. We have moments in the building where the buildings are collapsing and the earthquakes are happening, and that's kind of how it felt, where there was this war that was going on with the creatives and the agencies trying to take power. And it was every day in the newspaper, but nobody was talking about it. And everybody, it's because of the power dynamics of the agencies, everybody felt terrified to say anything. And so I knew I wanted to make jokes about it. And so PJ and I have a relationship like Trey Parker and Matt Stone, where I go, is this okay to be joking about? And he's like, no, make it worse. You have to be worse. And so we ended up making this through that. But no, I definitely wanted to make something about Hollywood. It's something that I actually do care about. The bad guys really could have won, and I'm glad that they didn't.
Thank you.
C'est quoi votre rapport justement parce que vous mariez des gens qui avaient vu Wolf, parce qu'en fait ils l'avaient piraté. On a vérifié parce que il y a quand même un import néerlandais complètement accessible légalement. Quel est votre rapport au piratage, et est-ce qu'il y a un moment en fait où vous dites c'est pas normal que le seul film qui a été produit dans un système de studio soit le seul film qui finalement n'est pas accessible à l'étranger?
So how do you feel about piracy with the werewolf film, and what could you say about the fact that the only film that you made within the system is also the only film that's not available in most countries?
I think that is I don't care about piracy for a big studio movie. Doesn't really matter. It becomes a commercial for them. With this film, we made it for nothing, and it's incredibly important. Same with Thunder Road. It's incredibly important. I own 38% of Thunder Road. So if you buy it on iTunes, every dollar that comes in, I'm getting 38 cents on, which is crazy. But no, I mean, really, the difficult thing is, like, when the way that the studio systems work, and because of the increase in technology, all of you could distribute a movie on your own. There are aggregators to get onto iTunes or to get onto Netflix or to get onto Amazon, and it only costs about $1,200. The problem is it's an educational issue where the studios don't want you to know that, because if they do, you're the competition. And you can curse in your movies, and you can show sex, and you can show real violence, which is what audience want to see, because they're perverts, clearly. But really, you are their competition, and I don't know. I think really, if you give your movie to someone else, like a big studio, sometimes they'll fuck it up, and I think we all know that. But it really is better to do these smaller movies that you have control over, to be able to put it out into the world how you want them.
Je crois qu'il va falloir qu'on s'arrête là, mais merci beaucoup en tous les cas d'être resté. Merci, Jimmy. Merci beaucoup. Vraiment, merci.